Hi everybody, Mary here from A Recreated Life, and today's video is about your survival gardening. I hate to use that term survival because it's thrown around these days with all the coronavirus stuff going on. But a lot of people are getting into gardening or wanting to do gardening, and I thought that I would get on today and kind of give you guys a little kind of a heads up on what are easy vegetables to grow. What should we be growing? What's gonna, if you're talking about survival, you're gonna need food for the long haul. And foods that will nourish you over, will be able to keep and nourish you over a long period of time. So I've kind of put together a list this morning of items that I would do. Now this is just my take on it, you guys. I am not a professional gardener by any means, but I have been gardening for a while and I get a lot of information from my family. Between all of us, we've gardened for quite a while and there's some great tips and hints and all that stuff. So I thought I would get on. Also too, I mentioned in my last gardening video that I have a seasonal job with a seed company here in Maine. So I am seeing a lot of people calling in, people who have never gardened before. They're calling and ordering seeds to do gardens this year, and they're really no knowledge about gardening. So it kind of prompted me. I kind of thought you guys might benefit from what I know about gardening, what little that is. So I would say first thing, if you know nothing about gardening, go online. There is a plethora of information on there about how to garden, what to grow, your particular area. Maybe, you need to know what you can grow in your area. USDA has a great map so that you can find out what your zone is for your area. That's a great place to start before you order seeds. Now my website, my company that I work for is called Johnny's Selected Seeds, and they have a fantastic website. It's johnnyseeds.com. I'm going to put the link down below in the description so you guys can go. On there, there's a tab that says Growers Library, and go there. There are hundreds of videos on there about how to garden, how to use the tools, things like that. So there's some really, really great resources out there. Now, if my seed company has it, I'm sure the other seed companies have great growing tips too. YouTube is absolutely loaded with places to go for videos on how to garden. There's one gardening lady that I love to follow. She lives in England, and her website, or I'll put a link for her down below too. She's fantastic. She has a complete YouTube channel on growing vegetables, and her name of her channel is What Vivi Did Next. And she gardens, she's a vegetarian, and she gardens so that she won't have to, there's my cat again on the bookcase being naughty. But anyway, she gardens all of her food. She really can't work because of medical reasons, and she gardens to feed herself for the year. So she's a great resource. She also, lives in London. Well, apparently in London they have some open spaces where you can rent like garden space. It's meant for gardening for the people that live in London, and you can rent those places, and that's what she does. So she has very small space to grow on, and so she is very frugal with her space, I will say, in her garden. So fantastic resource to go to. Check her out. So there are the resources that you can go to, and like I said, YouTube loaded with videos about gardening. So my first tip would be once you get, and another thing I wanted to say before I go further, please don't hoard seeds, you guys. This is, yes, we're all afraid, we're all in trying times, but you know what? There's plenty out there. If we just stop hoarding, there's plenty of seeds. Our company has plenty of seeds. We are in the process right now of taking a lot of the bigger quantities of seeds, like the commercial growers might buy 25,000 seeds, but there's a lot of little guys out there that are buying up the seed packets. So we're kind of transitioning, repacking the seeds in the bigger packets to the smaller packets. So there's a little bit of a delay there, but don't panic. We have the seeds. We're just trying to get caught up and stay caught up with all of the packet orders we have. So please don't hoard. I am seeing a little bit of that. The calls that I get, I answer the calls and take orders from you guys, and I am seeing that. There's panic out there. Please don't panic. If you live in a town or a city and you have a little tiny area, don't buy 10 pounds of seeds. You're not going to use all those seeds. And my thought is that you're not, if you don't know what you're doing, those seeds will go to waste. You can store seeds from year to year. Some of them longer than others. And I'll get into that a little bit later. So, in fact, I want to write that down. So, but please don't hoard. There are plenty of seeds to go around, and you would be amazed. If you've never gardened, you don't know this, but you guys, if you plant one hill, that's 3 seeds of zucchini, you'll have zucchini for you, your neighbors, your family, and anyone within a 10-mile radius around you. I'm telling you, it's very prolific. So, a lot of vegetable growing is like that. So, please don't hoard. Please just kind of try to be sensible about it so there's enough to go around for everybody. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. So the first tip I have is to succession plant. And what I mean by that, you guys, if you've never gardened, 1 week, say for instance, you're planting lettuce. This is a really great example because lettuce grows pretty quickly and you want a steady supply of it. This is what you want to do. So say that you are in the month of May. The first Saturday, plant 1 row of lettuce. The next Saturday, or plant a piece of a row, So you plant 1 row the first Saturday of May. The second Saturday of May, you plant another row. The third Saturday of May, you plant another. So you succession plant like that, and that way you have a steady growth of lettuce that you'll be able. It will take you a little longer. So just keep that in mind. Also, too. In my neck of the woods, I live in a cold climate, and I plant garlic. I've talked many times about the garlic that I plant, you guys. I have to plant my garlic in the fall, and then in the next summer is when we harvest. I know that in California and in warmer climates, so down south, you can plant. You can plant it all the time. It's kind of like a perennial kind of type thing. And years ago, I used to follow this really frugal lady. She had a newsletter that went out all the time. I think it was called Debt Free Living or something. Her name was Mary Hunt. She's still around on YouTube. I've seen videos for her. But anyway, her suggestion was every time you go to the grocery store and you buy a head of garlic, you use it as you're cooking, save 1 clove. As you guys know, a whole head of garlic has several cloves in it. You only use, say, 1 or 2 or 3 cloves when you're cooking. When you get down to the last little clove in that garlic, don't eat it. Go outside and plant it. And that way you have your succession planting with garlic. So you kind of always have like a steady supply of garlic. So that's a really good suggestion. So succession planting, that's a really good tip. The next thing I have is composting. I'm going to do this. I am going to do a video on how to compost if you live in a city or a town. You live in an apartment, and like I do, I live in an apartment, but you guys know that my garden is at my sister's house, but it's about 12 miles from here, so I can't really go with my composting stuff. So I am going to do some research, and I'm going to actually do it, a composting inside my apartment. I can use that compost for any plants that, you guys know, I've done videos on plants that I have in my apartment. I'll be able to use that compost in those pots, but I can also bring it to my garden and put it in my garden as a fertilizer. It's a fantastic fertilizer for your garden. So I'm planning on doing some composting in the city videos, maybe next time. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Work is really crazy right now, so I'm working a lot. So maybe not next time, but it's coming up, so be prepared. All right, so composting. This is for instance. This is my weekend, my days off, and I had a 5-pound bag of potatoes that was sprouting in my closet. So I peeled the whole 5-pound bag of potatoes and cooked them up yesterday. And now all of that peel from 5 pounds of carrots are in the trash. I could be putting that in composting and making wonderful compost for my garden. They call that black gold, you guys. That's how valuable compost is. So that's my goal. That's my next thing that I want to do. Another thing is seed saving. Now, I've never done that. I want to try it this year for the first time. When I was a kid, we always grew up with a garden, but I've gardened as an adult for the past 5 years. And when I was in my 20s, I had a few years of gardening, but the past 5 years I've done gardening. And I've not saved seeds yet, but I might want to try doing that. My sister does that with a bit of success. What Vivi did next, that lady that I'm linking down below, she does seed saving every year. So, you can really save yourself a lot of money. Seeds are expensive. So I might try that this year. My one tip on that is, if you do plan on seed saving, when you buy your seeds, make sure you're buying open pollinated or heirloom seeds. Those you can save those seeds from the fruits or vegetables and save them and plant for the next year. If they are a hybrid seed, you cannot save those seeds. They will not reproduce next year. So just know that when you're buying your seeds, very important. Okay, I do have a few hybrid seeds. I noticed that in Johnny's Seeds website, the only heirloom corn they have is ornamental. So I don't even know if there is a actual corn that you can eat that isn't hybrid. So I'm not sure about that, but I've got hybrid seed for my corn this year. So anyway, and another thing I mentioned about buying up seeds, you guys, this is another reason why I'm pleading with people, please don't hoard seeds, because yes, seeds can keep, if you keep them in a cool, dry, dark place, you can keep them from year to year. And there's on the website, the Johnny's website, there is a chart that tells you, it kind of gives you an idea of how long seeds will save for if kept in the proper conditions. That's a big deal. Keep them in the proper storing conditions, cool, dry, and dark if you can. Some people just keep them in the back of their fridge, and that's fine as long as they're cool. I've heard of some people keeping them in their freezer. I don't know if that works well or not. I'm not sure. But keeping them out of moisture is a big deal. Now, my one caveat in that seed storage is if you buy pelleted seeds. Now, you guys might not know what that term means, pelleted seeds. Some seeds like onion seeds and lettuce seeds, and what else? Carrot seeds are tiny, 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 tiny. And you tend to over sow them because they're so little. They're hard to finagle. They're hard to plant in small amounts. So we make them pelleted, and what that is, it's an organic coating on each seed that makes them, first of all, uniform in size, but easier to sow. Now, when you buy a pelleted seed, you do save money on that because you are planting the proper amount of seeds because you can get to them. You can do it that way. However, they do not store. If you buy a pelleted seed, you have to make sure you only buy enough to use this year. They will not store. They don't go from year to year. So please keep that in mind. Pelleted seeds. Now, there are treated seeds. There are pelleted seeds. Know the difference. A treated seed would be something that's treated with a fungicide. A lot of corn and peas are treated with a fungicide too, because they're planted in kind of moist times. Moist areas, and it's kind of best the treatment on that, the fungicide on that, is on there so that the seed doesn't rot before they sprout. And another thing, before I get on the pelleted seed, if you buy a pelleted seed, just know you need to water them a little bit more than a regular seed because that seed has to pop through that coating, so they need a little bit more water. And the next thing I want to get into, which I actually need to do a lot more research into, is soil. You need to have healthy soil in order to have healthy plants. You are looking to be, to have high nutrient vegetables. You want to eat high nutrient vegetables. You need to have your soil, healthy soil. I'm not going to get into that a lot because I truly don't know that much about it, but that's an area. Composting is one. Making my soil healthy is another. Those are areas I'm still going to look into. But, it's a learning curve, guys, right? Okay, so here is my list. I have 9 things that I call that you should be doing for your survival garden. Now, before I list those, I just want to say, I was watching a video the other day from a woman who is a naturopathic doctor, and she was saying that people ask her a lot, well, what should I plant? What should I grow? What should I do? Well, tomatoes, I know how to grow tomatoes. Well, yeah, tomatoes are fairly easy to grow. However, if you're planting to survive on your vegetables, tomato is, first of all, a lot of people are allergic to them. I am not allergic to tomatoes, but I'll be doggone if I can eat them. Every time I eat spaghetti or pizza or, put tomatoes in like a soup or something, I have the worst heartburn. They just eat my stomach alive. They're so acidy. I can't eat a lot of them. I do have some in my freezer, but I can't eat a lot. So anyway, this lady was saying, this naturopathic doctor was saying, if you eat a tomato, it stays in your stomach for about 20 minutes. If you eat a potato, it stays in your stomach for about 2.5 hours. So think root vegetables, you guys. If you're thinking, you know, what am I going to survive on? Root vegetables. And that includes my first few items are all root vegetables. So 9 items, you guys, to have in your survival garden. The first one is potatoes. Potatoes and sweet potatoes. Now, that being said, potatoes they're different. Like I spoke to a lady the other day on the phone. She ordered seeds, not through me. She was calling after she ordered her seeds, and she said, I ordered seeds, and I thought I was buying seeds. Well, and she ordered potatoes, thinking they were an actual little seed. No, potatoes a potato seed is an actual potato. A lot of people don't realize that. Potato seeds, and they get shipped to you when you need them. So they don't ship to you when you order your regular seeds. They ship to you when your area, when your area is past the point of frost and you can plant them. So first of all, that's something you need to keep in mind. Potatoes are a little different, and I would check that out online, how to plant potatoes and how to grow potatoes, because they're a little different. I've never grown sweet potatoes, so I couldn't tell you about those, but regular, fingerling potatoes and white potatoes like Yukon Gold and Kennebec. I plant Yukon Gold every year, but what you do is a potato seed comes to you, and it's an actual potato. And as you guys know, on a potato there are little dots, almost like a dimple, called an eye. Well, those eyes is what sprouts when you plant them in the ground, and that's what makes the potato plant and grows the potatoes on the ground. That is the actual seed. Think about it, guys. If you buy potatoes from a grocery store and you leave them in your cupboard too long, they get sprouts on them, right? Well, pay attention and look where those sprouts are coming from. They're coming from the eye of the potato. So when you get your potato seeds, you need to cut that potato in such a way that there's 1 or 2 eyes on each section that you're cutting from a potato, and that's what you plant in the ground. And so, if you have questions on that, like I said, check out the videos. There's all kinds of things. And I'll probably, when it comes time to plant my potatoes, do a video to show you guys how to do that. But anyway, keep that in mind. And once you plant the potatoes, after they've grown, you have to hill them. And what I mean by that is you have to take a hoe and you go on one side of the potatoes and hoe all the dirt right up, like here's the tomato plant, you want to hold the dirt right up to the potato plant, and then you go down the other side and hill it. So your potatoes are actually on a hill after they start to grow. So the potatoes are a little bit of work. In my opinion, they're well worth it. They're gonna, you can survive a long time on potatoes. So that's why I add them to my list. They're fantastic, and I grow them every year, and I love growing them. They're fun. Biggest problem I have with potatoes is potato bugs, and you really have to be diligent with potato bugs. They will decimate the plants. They will literally decimate the plants. This year, I'm going to do it differently. I put diatomaceous earth on them last year, and really very little success. This year, I'm going to be much more diligent. When I was growing up, my father used to take a glass jar, like an old jam or jelly jar that you got from the grocery store, you clean it out, put a little bit of gasoline in the bottom of it, and pick the potato bugs and put them in there. That's what he did, and that's what I'm going to do this year. The best bet, you pick them. You have to go out and pick them. You have to be diligent about keeping up with the potato bugs. So be mindful of that. The second item on my list is carrots. You guys, they grow so prolific. They're so prolific, and they're so delicious. The only thing I'm going to say about these root vegetables, yes, they're fantastic and they're easy to grow, but think about storage. Be prepared to store them when it comes time to harvest. Like I have a little, my little laundry closet where I do my laundry has a little bit of space in there, and that's where I keep my potatoes that I grow at the grocery store. So that's where I keep my garlic too from when I pick it in the summer. It's dark. There's no windows in my bathroom. It's dark. It's coolish. It doesn't get too hot in there, even though my dryer's in there. It's coolish, and it's a great place to store. They're undisturbed in there, and it works really well. So think about storage. So potatoes, carrots, beets is another one. A lot of nutrition in beets. I like to make pickled beets. So that's another thing to think about, you guys. How are you going to store it? I find carrots hard to store. So this year what I'm going to do is just pick them frequently. I'll leave them in the ground and pick them as I go, as I eat them, because I really don't have great storage, and they get rubbery really fast. So I really haven't found a good way to store them. I do not like frozen carrots. Maybe you guys do, and that's a great option for you guys. I don't like them. They get a weird taste when they go in the freezer, and so I don't particularly care for them. Beets, I make pickled beets, but a lot of people like to make beet salads or put beets in their salads. Really, really good for you. Onions and garlic. Every year I plant onions and garlic. Very prolific and very store well. Think about storage for onions. A lot of people hang them. You know, their onions and garlic, they like weave them together and hang them. My garlic, I just leave in a bag in my closet. I've shown you guys that before. My onions and green pepper, as a matter of fact, I cut up. As soon as I harvest them, I cut them up and put them in the freezer. And I always have onions to cook with. They are good to cook with if you do it that way, but they are not good fresh. Like you couldn't put them fresh in a salad. So anyway, I don't happen to like fresh onions in anything. I always use them when I cook. So that's just how I use mine. So do it your way, you guys. Okay, so onions and garlic. The next thing would be the viney things. Squash, pumpkin, squash and pumpkin. They're very prolific, you guys. And I mean, you guys know how big a pumpkin is. If you plant one hill of pumpkins, you're going to have a lot of pumpkins to deal with. And again, think about storage. And what are you going to do with it? Once you harvest squash and pumpkin, what are you going to do with it? If you plant one hill of summer squash or zucchini, that will be, like I said, that is very prolific. You'll be able to eat it in like stir fries or cooked up with some garlic, and maybe throw it in the oven to do a sheet pan meal, things like that. I always used to like to shred some of it. If they grow bigger and they're really not good to eat, fresh like that, shred them and put them in your freezer for zucchini bread or zucchini muffins or cookies or anything like that. Again, with the squash and the pumpkin, I kind of use squash and pumpkin interchangeably almost. You could make squash and pumpkin soup, risotto, bread, muffins, cakes. There's all kinds of things you can do with it. Last year, I took my squash and I cooked it all up at once, and I scooped it out of the skin, and I mashed it up and put salt and pepper and butter in it as though I'm going to eat it, and then I put it in quart bags in the freezer. That worked pretty good. I love that because then you just take it out and if you cook up a chicken breast, you've got squash all ready to go. It's fantastic. This year I'm going to try to store it. I'm going to leave them whole, not cooked, and I'm going to put them in my little laundry shed there. I'm going to get a crate and put them in there. And hopefully they'll, so I'm going to see how they last. If I see that they're starting to get bad spots on them, I'll cook them up and put them in the freezer. But it's a lot of work, and maybe I'm pretty busy in the fall when my garden starts coming, to fruition. And so maybe, it'll put it off into a time when I can really, in the middle of the winter maybe, or in the fall when I have time to do all that, I'll be able to do it and put it in the freezer. Another thing I have in here, and a lot of people might disagree with this, but I say dry beans. You can grow lima beans, just like black beans, navy beans. You can grow those. Those grow like an actual green bean, and you just leave them you just plant them in the ground, let them go until the fall when the plants start getting dried up, and when the shells start getting dry, and you can kind of see how crinkly they are and dry they are, and you can hear them rattle. It's time to pick them. Excuse me, I did it for the first time last year or the year before. It was the year before. And my sister helped me. They are a bit of work. Excuse me. They're a bit of work when it comes time to shell them, but well worth it. I mean, if we are going to be in a situation where all the companies are closed and nobody's going to work, you're going to be at home. I had a big bag of them, and when I was watching TV or listening to podcasts or I was watching YouTube videos, I just shelled them as I was doing that. It made a little bit of a mess, but not bad. My cat was kicking around beans for a few months after that because I kept finding them under the couch and the chair. But no big deal. I mean, that's how I did it, and it worked fantastic. And then you've got homegrown beans, you guys. The last thing on my list, and this one's a really good one, is lettuce. It's your greens, lettuce, spinach, kale, those kinds of things. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, think about success. Excuse me, you guys. think about succession planting those things so that you have a steady, you're going to at least get your greens in, get a, salad, daily, or you make a sandwich and you want some lettuce leaves, just snip off some leaves. I do that with my arrow garden. Excuse me. If I were going to go a step further, so those are the 9 things that I would put in my survival garden. If I was going to go a step further and say, I've got some things I'd like to have, but maybe not necessarily survival, I would do cucumbers because you can make pickles out of them, which are fantastic in the winter. Oh my gosh. So I do cucumbers. That's a great green to have, while they're prolific. I did this year. I'm growing mint. You can grow chamomile. Think about the herbs. Because you can grow tea, you can dry them and have tea in the middle of the winter. What if you can't get to the store and you need a hot drink? Hot drinks are really good for your body. My naturopathic doctor has always said that, and you can kind of Google that online. Warm drinks are really good for you. And so think herbs. Sometimes they're medicinal. You can make teas and tinctures out of them. I bought mint this year, common mint, and stevia. That's another thing, stevia. It's a sweetener. So if we can't get our hands on refined sugar that we all love so much, which is a good thing if we can't get our hands on it, it's a little bit of a sweetener. Also, too, if you have maple trees around you, maybe you could do a little bit of boiling off of maple syrup. It's that time right now here in Maine. Everybody's boiling off their sap, making maple syrup. I love it. That's my sweetener of choice. I absolutely love maple syrup in my smoothies. Oh, it's really good. And I eat it with yogurt and fruit. Oh, I put a little bit of maple. Oh, so good. So mint, chamomile, stevia, any of those herbs. Green pepper is another one. Green pepper and tomato. I would add those in. Like I said, I grow green peppers every year. But if you're talking survival, you really kind of don't need them for survival. They're just kind of a great addition. The last thing I would have if you're going into fall, going into winter, some things that might be good to have would be microgreens and sprouts. My company that I work for sells microgreen seeds and sprout seeds. And, I've asked before at work, can't you just plant any seed and use it as a microgreen, cut it when it's a baby and use it that way? Yes, you can. However, our seeds with our company, and I'm not sure if all companies do this, but we test our seeds for my company for the sprouting seeds and the microgreen seeds. Those specific seeds we test for E. coli and salmonella. So I'm not saying that if you grow other seeds that you're going to get E. coli. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they've been tested, and so they're safer, I guess I would say. So that's what I would add in. Things that I would not grow in my survival garden. And this is just my take on it. This is not everybody's, but any of the brassicas, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, I probably wouldn't grow any of those. To me, they tend to get buggy, and they're hard to keep up with. They're hard to keep the bugs out of them. Cabbage is a really good thing. People argue about that, I'm sure, but cabbage is one of those things that's a great survival crop. But how are you going to store it? Where are you going to put it? To me, those are more difficult crops. They're fussier. They get a lot of bugs, and how are you going to store them? If you have a row of 10 cabbages, what are you going to do with 10 cabbages when they all come due? The only thing that could save you on that was to succession plant, if you could. Plant cabbage now, maybe 2 weeks from now, or 3 weeks from now, plant some more cabbage, and, that kind of thing. I'm just thinking of what are you going to do when they all come to, when it comes time to harvest. So brassicas, corn. I would not do corn. It takes up a lot of space. Germination, I think, is a little fussy with corn. I wouldn't do corn. I do like corn. I like to take it off the cob and keep it in my freezer. It's fantastic in the middle of the winter when you go to make a corn chowder and you take that fresh corn out of your garden that you grew. It makes the best corn chowder. But I don't know. I think it's fussy. I've not done it. This is going to be my first year, so I don't know. I'd say no. So brassicas, corn, and berries. A lot of people are buying berry bushes right now. And I say that because berry bushes, blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, those bushes take a couple, 3 years to get started. So if you're looking for survival they're not going to get going right away. The only thing that I might plant so that you can have fruits, because everything I mentioned in my survival garden is all a vegetable. If you want some fruits, I would do watermelon and melon, like watermelon and cantaloupe, something like that. You can freeze those. That's why I actually have melon this year in my garden. Cantaloupe, I think it is, I bought. So I'll be planting that. And I only did that because my sister last year grew it and she froze it. And I was like, I didn't know you could freeze that. She's like, you sure absolutely can. Well, they're great in smoothies. Watermelon, oh, I love watermelon, but it doesn't like me. It gives me terrible stomach cramps. So I would do watermelon, but my stomach doesn't like it. So those are great, if you want fruit in your freezer for the winter. Strawberries are another thing. Any berry, if you're going to grow it yourself, they take a long time to get started. So if you're thinking long-term, sure, go ahead and get them. It's a great thing to start, but just know it's going to take 2 or 3 years to get them. If you're thinking like the here and the now, I want to grow a garden right now, what I told you is what I would go with. So there you have it, you guys. That's my take on the survival garden. I hope that this is helpful. I hope you guys got some good tips and hints and tricks and all that stuff. Stay tuned because I'm going to be doing a lot more. I really think you guys, especially where I work at this seed place this year, I am seeing so many people out there that are really desperate. What can I grow? How can I do this? And I mean, they're like absolutely never had a garden, and you got a lot of learning to do. And there's a learning curve. Just know that please don't hoard. That's my biggest take from this. Please don't hoard. And any help that you need to grow things, check it out. You guys are all home from work right now. Everybody's except for me, everybody is home isolating. So use that time wisely. Figure out how to garden. It's a fun hobby, but it's great. I think we've so needed it, and I think this is a wake-up call for all of us. And I don't know about you, but I'm thrilled to see people doing more gardening. I think we've needed to for a long time. And I will say this, our little bees are going to have a fantastic year this year because there's going to be all these people out there with gardens that have never had them. So there you have it, you guys. My take on the survival garden. I hope this helps. If you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Check out the websites that I'm putting below. They're very helpful. And keep your eyes peeled on my YouTube channel because I'm going to do I'm going to do great gardening videos this year. I've not done them. Last year I didn't do any. And I wanted to. My summer got ahead of me and I didn't get a chance to. I actually had made up my mind that number 1, I was going to have a bigger garden this year, and number 2, I was going to do more videos on gardening, and that was before the pandemic hit. So this just kind of confirms along my line of thinking. Oh, there goes my cat. Along my line of thinking of that I wanted to do more videos on those subjects and teach you guys what I know. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. I hope you liked the video, and I hope you stay tuned because there's a lot more to come. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you next time.